Good morning, everybody. KT here with Wise Images Photography. Thank you so much for tuning in today. When you guys are seeing this video, it's going to be like the week after Mother's Day. So I hope that all of you guys got to spend some good quality time with your mothers and just got to enjoy the day with them. Anyways, well, what are we going to do today? We are going to go ahead and we are going to take an image and we are going to add fog, realistic looking fog, to the image using Lightroom. There's nothing wrong with Photoshop. I think Photoshop is fantastic, but I try to do about 90 to 95% of my work in Lightroom. And this is a cool little quick, easy tutorial to show you how to do that. I'm also going to go ahead and show you guys some masking tools. I'm going to also show you some AI powered tools as well, and what to do if that AI powered tool is not working properly. I will show you my kind of workaround for it, and then we'll go from there. So let's get going. All right, so we are going to take this image of this beautiful snowy aigrette and white aigrette, and we are going to turn it into this, where we have this little kind of fog kind of going across the bottom of the grasses, and then we're going to go ahead and darken down the back side of that image a little bit, just to change it from being at first it was just a little dull, and I just kind of felt like a little fog would kind of add a little bit of mystery to this photograph. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's start with the editing portion. Now, as you can see, I have already did my kind of like my first steps. Whenever I get in there, I always do a first steps, and then I start adding my tweaks. So this picture already has those first steps in mind. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and straighten out that image, okay? It's a little tilted, you know, sometimes when the waves are coming, you know, I was on Lake Apopka and the waves are kind of going like this. So sometimes it's a little harder to, you know, kind of keep your camera level. So sometimes I am kind of tilting because maybe the boat is tilting. And sometimes I'm hovering over, you know, as you can see, as low as I am to the water with this, I was hovering that camera right over the water and trying to hold everything. Anyway, so what we are going to do is we are going to go ahead and straighten it out. So I'm going to hit it R, and that kind of gives me like that cropping tool and also rotating. Now, as you can tell with the marsh line, it's kind of hard to tell what is going to be a straight line. So what I'm going to base it off of is the snowy aigrette, which is that small bird on the left-hand side. And I'm going to kind of use, as you can see, the grid lines come up. I'm going to kind of use his neck as kind of what I would say would be the straight portion. Now I think I overdid it there. There we go. A little bit back. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit R, and now the image is straight, because when people look at an image and if it's like a little off kiltered, unless you like really mean to like really show it, it kind of throws people off a little bit. So that's just something to keep in mind. So that's why I went ahead and did that. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab this masking tool on the far right hand side. You can either hover over it, click on it, or you can hit Shift W. I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick linear gradient. I'm going to click on that, and you get this little cross. It goes from, like, if you're down here, you get your little arrow, you come up here, you get like a cross. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to left click on my mouse, and I'm going to drag this up. And you can see wherever the red is, that is where you are going to go ahead and get this effect. And you can tell that it's darker in the red on the bottom than it is on the top, so it kind of has faded in, and that's what you want. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to back it off just a little bit because I don't think I want the fog to go up quite that high. So I'm going to back it down a little bit. Now, if you don't want to see the overlay, over here you'll see a little check mark. If you click on that, that takes away the overlay. Check it back, you can see the overlay. Another way you can do this is you can hit O. O takes it away, O adds it back. Now I want to see what I'm doing, so I'm going to go ahead and take away the O, and right now this linear gradient is lit up, so I know that this is what I'm working with. I'm going to come down here to dehaze. Now if I go to the right It makes everything really dark. But if I go to the left, notice that it really starts to come in and it's kind of like very bright and it's very white. For fog, that doesn't look exactly true to what I would think would be in the scene. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come back up to exposure, and then I'm going to go ahead and bump down the exposure a little bit. And now it kind of looks more like normal kind of looking fog to me in my personal opinion. All right, so next bit, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this linear gradient. You can go ahead and click on it, it will go away. And then if you want to use another masking tool, you just click on that circle again and it will pull up the masking tool. If you guys notice, there is on this right hand side of this little box is 2 arrows pointing to your left. If you click on that, it kind of opens everything up and you can see your first mask right here. I click over here and then it will take it away. A lot of times what I do is I'll hit K, because K is my brush tool, and I'll just hit K because it just kind of makes everything turn on and off. That's just me. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and turn this mask back on. I want to create another gradient because to me, I mean, you could leave it like this and everything would be fine, but I feel like it needs a little bit more because I feel like maybe it might be too bright of a scene to have that fog on there. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer mask, and I'm going to go back to linear gradient again, but this time I'm going to pull from the top. So I'm left clicking on that mouse, I'm dragging it down, and the reason why I'm going to do this is because I'm going to focus on trying to fade the background out a little bit, make it a little bit darker. So I'm going to go ahead and hit O, and yes, it does go over my birds right now, but I'm going to show you a trick here in a second. So I'm going to take this away, and if you notice, if I were to bring down this exposure, you can see that it has definitely covered the bird. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull this back just a little bit and see kind of where I think it would look pretty good. I think right about maybe there. That looks good. Maybe a hair more. Maybe a hair more. All right, I'm going to go maybe -0.85. Let's see if that. Yeah, I like that. With doing the linear gradient, we've now managed to make the top part of the white egret, his head is like a lot darker now. So what you can do is you can click on mask 2. Now you can rename these if you want to. You can go ahead and click on the 3 dots and then you hit rename, and you could say dark layer. I don't know, I'm making it up. Hit OK. And then that way you know that that's the one you're working on. With it highlighted, if you look over here on the right, it says subtract. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and subtract and hit select subject. And now Lightroom is going to go ahead and try to detect the subjects. So it should get my snowy egret and my white egret. If you click on it, you notice that it has taken and separated the snowy egret and the white egret from the background. So it has highlighted our subjects, but you may also notice as I'm hovering over here that in between the neck and the wings, it did select part of the background. I have a workaround for that, but I will show you guys that a little bit later. When I was playing with this before, I felt like it didn't really, even though it subtracted part of the background from the original linear gradient, I didn't feel like it affected the background that much. So you know what, I would just leave it. Now the bird has a very bright white head. Before it was a little bit darker. Okay, so I also said, well, what if you don't like that? What if you're like, no, KT, I gotta fix that. That's just my way. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and create one more layer mask. Now this is what the final product would look like, but I'm gonna show you that one workaround that I was talking about before. So we're gonna go ahead and select the linear, we're gonna create a new mask. We're gonna go ahead and hit linear gradient. We're gonna come back down, we're gonna left click on our mouse, and we're going to go ahead and go down really far just so that we can see that it's going to go over the bird. If you guys are liking this and finding some value, make sure you guys give it a little thumbs up so that way other people can see this video too. And remember to subscribe if you guys haven't subscribed either. That kind of helps out the channel and more people can see what's kind of going on, and we all can learn from each other. But anyway, so without further ado, the other option here, I'm going to go ahead and make the O. I'm going to hit the O so it goes away. I'm going to left click over here and drag the exposure down. I'm going to leave it nasty looking for you guys just so y'all can see what I'm doing here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go subtract, and this time I'm going to use my brush tool. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. I'm hitting the space bar and notice that it goes to a hand, and I'm going to pull it down. And now my brush is here, and notice that it has the subtraction sign already. You can tell because there's a little bit of a space that there is a little bit of feathering going on, and so you can just kind of start erasing parts of the bird, like right over the bird, and you can tell that it's taking away that mask. It's subtracting that part of the mask. Now I'm not going to sit here and spend 20 minutes doing this with you guys, because you guys are getting the general idea that basically I'm just subtracting the mask away from the bird in the areas that it did hit. And you would just do this all over the bird wherever that mask hit, and then that would be how you could go ahead and get away with getting rid of some of this mask. So if you felt like, hey, I didn't like the fact that it had, you know, taken part of that background or whatnot, you can go ahead and you can do this by using the brush tool, and then that way the background kind of stays the way it did. Now remember, this is not a super great job here, but you can kind of get the idea that yes, we took away some of that you can tell by hovering over, we've taken away a lot of that mask there. All right, so that is one way. So if the AI powered tool doesn't work exactly how you want it, you can always just switch it up and go ahead and use the brush tool. And like, if you guys have heard my other videos, I personally like the brush tool. That's me. I also wanted to go ahead and give a couple of shout outs to some of the new subscribers. Thank you so much for subscribing. Autumn, Miguel, welcome back. There is a Peter as well. There was quite a few of you that just recently signed up, and I wanted to say thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. Makes me feel happy to know that you guys want to learn from me. Also, if you don't mind, put in the chat pod, what are some things that you guys want to learn, so that I know what I can touch upon to help you in your photography journey. Needless to say, I want to say you are awesome. Have a fantastic rest of your week, and I'll see you later, alligator.